Welcome to the Center of Light Radio with spiritual teacher, intuitive, musician, composer, and best-selling author of The Divine Principle, Anchoring Heaven on Earth, your host, Keith Anthony Blanchard.
Coast to coast, pole to pole, all around the world on the internet, thanks to the marvel of technology. I'm coming at you live from my guest house in Memphis, Tennessee. This is Keith Anthony Blanchard, and you are listening to Center of Light Radio, Center of Divine Unfoldment and Reinforcement. Strap in all my brother and sister astronauts as we launch for inner space. Power up and spread the light, y'all. It's Monday night. What a great way to start your week. Center of Light Radio. Center of Light Radio. Yes, make sure you go to centeroflightradio.com. Look at the bottom right-hand side of the opening page, and you will see a subscription form. Fill it out. I will send you my monthly newsletter, which is packed full of really, really cool stuff. I put a lot of time into this newsletter. I think you'd be very, very pleased. Also, if you want to know more about my RPM program, this is my lifelong work. Also, fill out that same subscription form. That way you have access to this program. Today, my show is going to be really, really cool. I'll get to that here shortly. Multitasking. So give me one moment. There we go. Also, next week on Center of Light Radio, I have a very, very special guest, Father Francis Tiso from Italy. And we will be talking about the rainbow body. Father Francis is a Catholic priest in Italy, and he's done a lot of research in the field of rainbow bodies, a phenomena that happens from people like Tibetan monks, people who devote their entire life to becoming cosmic consciousness. That's pretty powerful stuff. But there's a phenomena that happens at death, that the body shrinks and turns and morphs and all. It's just an amazing thing. Very informative cat. He and I developed a friendship immediately. Also, if you would go to YouTube and look up Center of Light Radio, my channel there. If you could. If you find any of the videos that you like, the archive video of my shows there that you really, really dig, a thumbs up would be cool. Subscribe if you can. Leave a comment about the guest that you've heard for that particular broadcast. It helps me gauge and helps me refine the process of the guest that I'm going to get for future shows. Also, I have a little window to get some adverts here because my guest is in transit right now. Services. For many, many years, I have done life-changing presentations all over about spirituality, expanding yourself into a more fully conscious being, divine incarnations, extraterrestrials. I've helped many, many people fulfill their passion towards living their life full of bliss. I do spiritual readings, life coaching, and yes, if you have squatters living in your house, people who don't pay rent, I'm referring to ghosts, that are causing you nothing but trouble, contact me at keithanthonyblanchard@gmail.com. I will give you a bag of goodies, a bag of tricks, shortcuts to help you remove those squatters, those spiritual squatters from your house. You know, if you like them there and they're pleasant and it's fun and it's entertaining, that's one thing. But if the boogeyman there is causing you a lot of trouble, we need to make sure that they exit immediately. I hear that Swamiji Viswayogi, God-realized man from India, is going to be back in Memphis sometime soon, and you can bet I'm going to do everything that I can to get him back on the show. God-realized man, what I mean is he's probably aware of this dialogue I'm having with you now if he turns his attention towards it. I had the blessed opportunity to meet Swamiji 3 or 4 times. And being in the presence of such a powerhouse of light is truly something to be experienced. Words can only soil what it is I'm trying to convey to you. While you're at Center of Light Radio, if you can, look up the Do What You Love Forever course. In it, you will receive The Divine Principle, my bestseller, digital download, so you get it immediately, self-reflection workbook, divine daily supplements, Do What You Love, A Path to Passionate Living, the movie made about my life by Blue Cast Productions out of New York. There's just tons of stuff that you will get. I'm still running this special. It's doing well for $5. I mean, $5, an audiobook is also included, the Divine Principle audio multi-music album. That in and of itself is probably $25, $30 value. Why am I doing this? Because there is no overhead involved for me, but I also like to impart to you everything that has changed my life in a very serious way as to why I'm able to be the captain of this mothership, that's how you can say. The gig of my life is to empower people with tools. I know what help did for me when I was in a serious way. And now I'm obligated. It is my duty. It is my mission. It is my life. It is my passion to see people happy, be it by something I did or just in general. But I like being a catalyst for that. It's not an ego stroke. It validates me inside. It lets me know that I'm living my life on purpose. Let me look at my notes here, see if we have our guest ready to go. I'm looking. Okay, she's not here just yet that I can tell. I want to read you a tidbit. I just got a message from my producer here. She's here. So let me get down to my guest bio. So now we're going to get down to Center of Light Radio business. And I do appreciate your patience. And I want to say hello to all the beautiful people in the chat room. Dana, Daria, Don Danny, just a whole lot of you for being here. I'm really, really grateful for your presence, repeated presence here at Center of Light Radio. Let me tell you about my guest today, Angelica Rose. An angel walk-in is a universal gifted angel messenger, medium, inner spirit activation specialist since 1991, a certified hypnotist and author of Ebooks, Relaxation CDs, and DVDs, talk on spiritual oneness and inspirational stickers. Very cool. Angelica also created an online series called Spiritual Journey from Human Consciousness to Spiritual Oneness on MP3 and MP4. She has been certified as a Minister of Love in 2007. As an angel walk-in, her mission is to operate from the angelic plane on this planet committed to angelic love frequency. Angel assists those who have a loving heart and are choosing to live a life of joy, peace, prosperity, love, and vitality. You can find more about my guest at www.heartofmotivation.webs.com. Welcome to Center of Light Radio, Angelica Rose.
Hello.
Hello back. How are you today?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful. Thank you for your lovely, inspirational, invitational intro.
Well, I knew intuitive I did to call you today for whatever little bird was sitting on my shoulders to say, Keith, you might need to make contact. And we did have a little bit of confusion in our scheduling, but my intuition paid off. And here you are with us today. And I appreciate that. Great.
Oh, it's all phenomenal. I'm just so grateful that you did call and that I was able to. I got here. Yeah, I was telling the gentleman I was 2 minutes early, and he's like, I got here at 2 minutes to 3 and called you, and I'm like, does he know I'm here? I thought it was kind of fun. So
well, let's dive right into this juicy topic, angelic walk-in. That just overwhelms me. Being a spiritualist, I've seen aliens. I've met one in human form.
So have
I've seen God. I've seen God, man. And this is a bragging point. I'm gonna take a bragging point today. But and after all that being said, this subject still overwhelms me, surprises me, and has my attention because, not out of doubt, I'm just fascinated with the idea of someone from that realm making a conscious decision versus being birthed, but just a sort of step in. Tell me how this happened for you and when and why and all those good questions I could possibly ask you surrounding this subject.
Well, it was really funny. I actually fell in. I didn't walk in. And there were people that were witnessing, I know, right? There were people that were witnessing the whole thing. I had a dream that night that it happened to help me understand, because when you drop in and you're in the human form, you have absolutely no idea at first what's going on. It's acclimating to a different vibrational frequency. When you're out of the body, you know exactly what's going on because you're in the spirit form, and there's a connection, a sense of an agreement. But once you get into the human form, it's almost like you have a temporary, like, what is happening feeling, like a baby being born crying, like, where am I kind of a feeling. And So what happened was that in 1997, and I have this documented in a new book that I'm writing, and what happened was that these people were with the other expression, and she set an intention. All the windows were closed. The next thing and this is what they shared with me, that she started blowing, air started blowing in her face. They had no idea where it was coming from. Nobody else was experiencing it. It was like almost like a window was open and this air was blowing her, but she was going forward in time. The body collapsed. It stopped breathing. She left the body and didn't know at the time that she was in the midst of leaving what was happening. And then I fell in and we both looked at each other and said, "What's happening?" So at that time, there was a switching going on. But while it was happening, it was so quick that we didn't know what was going on as it was going on. And the purpose of me being here was initially to continue where she left off in expanding the body with the angelic realm helping me. And then later on, these amazing pure loving beings that I channel took over in addition to the angelic realm to download these vibrational frequencies to help to activate the body's frequency so that I can be in it in an easier way. Because it was too dense for me. It was hard for me to stay in the body. So initially,
Did it hurt? Seriously, I don't mean that in fun. Did it hurt?
No.
Was it painful?
Well, it wasn't painful so much as a physical painful, but I was hyperventilating, and they had to put me in a tub of water, which is kind of comical in its own way, with a paper bag to breathe into it. And they put crystals around the body because they had no idea what was going on. I obviously, once I got acclimated in the body, then I became aware that I'm in a human form, and that night they explained to me, I thought they forgot the manual. I'm like, "Hello, where are you? Did you forget to give me regulations and rules about this planet? Because I have no idea what I'm doing." And they, I could feel them laughing like you were. And so that night they came in and explained that part of my mission was to help to expand the consciousness of the body with their assistance. And then after that, they wanted me to support the others in their own expansion of awakening their inner spirit, and then to create these grids where energies can be downloaded that are of a higher frequency to help support the awakening of the planet.
And how long ago did this happen?
It was 1997.
1997. So we're looking right at about 20 years?
Close.
Ish. Close. Yeah, got you. Angelica, I'm going to ask you not some tough questions as if I need you to convince me. I'm asking questions because I like digging.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm not comfortable answering, I'll just tell you move on, and have the integrity of certain things. Sure.
So when you were there, when you were quote there, before you actually fell in, who were you conversing with about the process of? I mean, were you prompted to say like, "Hello, dear one, there's a window opening up, and there's a body that's free"? None of that.
None of that. The only thing that I knew was I fell into the body. She came out of the body first, and then I fell in, and I saw her above me, and because the body wasn't breathing, I had to quickly come in. So it wasn't like, okay, let's have a conversation and pull her out and pull you in. It had to be really quick.
Do you remember much of being there?
Being where?
There, on the before here.
Oh, on the outside. I don't remember being out of the body, but I know how to get out of the body. I just know that I fell in, but I also know how to get back to the angelic realm. I mean, they purposely, when I fell in, everybody that was in contact literally was gone. So I had no human family, no human contacts, nothing. Everything got taken away on purpose so that I can stay connected to the vibrational frequency of knowing that I'm an angelic rather than knowing that I'm a human. So it was very important to stay in the identification of being an angelic in the body, having an angelic experience rather than an angelic having a human experience. They didn't want that because part of my mission was to have the frequency continue to expand so that I can support the holding the vibration to help others wake up, rather than having another person that came in as an alien in the human form, living a life of humanness. That wasn't my role.
Do you return there often in being in sleep states of consciousness through meditation, just by sheer will of shifting to that space? And if so, what is it like being in the angelic realm?
Well, I do a lot of astro traveling. When I first came in, it was kind of a twofold. One of it was to help with the body. So the angelic realm helped to give me instructions and download the energies. And then I was pretty much in a monk phase for quite some years. I didn't have a lot of human contact, but I did obviously to support myself. And then when I was doing this astro traveling, I would go to different places and just kind of get used to what the planet was about. When I go to the angelic realm, it's obviously very pure in vibration. It's all energy. There's no human consciousness. It's just pure energy of love. And so the frequency is as the spirit is very high. When you get into the human form, it becomes dense in its vibrational frequency. And that's why we're in the year of the flipping, where the vibration of the planet's getting higher. And so it's easier for people that are of a different vibration other than the human vibration to be able to acclimate easier. But a lot of people that have come in, whether as a walk-in or as a birth-in, still have had challenges. It's just those that were birthed in had longer time to acclimate than those that have dropped in. And they were identifying with their purpose in the human form first before they became aware of being a spirit.
I often heard or referred to as that angels are considered to be God's thoughts. If that would be true, what was your, quote, mission there? What was your task there? Is it the same that you have now by that which you described a little earlier?
My mission on the planet is that I'm here to, as I mentioned earlier, being a messenger, and also to support the awakening of the consciousness at this juncture right now, and then also to help for these expansive beings to download vibrations to create these grids and portals so that energies can be activated, because they need to have a conduit in a human form to do it with. As far as in the angelic realm, there isn't so much missions and purposes. It's just, sometimes you go to different realms, but it's not like the same thing as Earth realm. And because I'm in the human form, I'm actually not aware of what I did when I was in the spirit form, because right now I'm using the human mind and also the human emotions and the human body to acclimate being here, as well as my purpose, without knowing that I'm a human being, if that makes sense.
Very, very well answered. That's what I was looking for. Thank you, because I feel complete with the question I asked you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So being fresh, to use a word, here on the earth, coming in with such a consciousness versus a child taking so many years to somewhat fully come into the body and learning how the body moves and functions and learning a language and learning social skills. But you coming in with that degree of consciousness, how long would you say that it took you to learn the mechanics of being able to walk and to talk and to function to where you somewhat felt normal?
Well, there is no such thing as normal, because I've never felt normal on this planet. As far as, I found out later on, because to be honest, I had no idea what was going on. There was a braiding going on. So because when I first dropped in, I still had the consciousness of the other expression, I still was able to, get some of the abilities, like you take a step. It wasn't like I had to learn how to walk. You just get in the body and you just walk. So it wasn't like I was a baby in that sense, even though I've never been on this planet before. The I don't know how to explain it any better. The energies, the memory cells were already established on moving your hands, breathing in the body. Well, breathing was the hard part, because I had no idea how to breathe here. At the walking and all that kind of stuff, I guess that kind of felt natural, because it was already inclinated in the body. It's like the best way I'm hearing to explain it is a boy or a little girl that plays the piano at 2 years old. They're a genius. Did they have to learn how to play at that age? No, they just started playing the piano because they had those cells already activated in that regard.
Understood. The reason I asked you, one, about it being painful, and two, how much of a learning curve it took to actually be able to quote function, is because I had a guest in the past, and she's an angelic walk-in, and she had mentioned that at least for her, there was considerable. I think she said like 2 years before she can actually function as a human being, coming into human form from said angelic realm.
Well, for me, the first, almost 15 years was really moving a lot of the other expressions' energy to a higher vibration. It was almost like she left me with an unfinished business. So my purpose was different than that other angelic's purpose. I had a very difficult time because the other expressions' lessons were very challenging and hard and dense. So my attention was on that at the same time as helping others wake up their consciousness. It was almost like I was living in two worlds. One of them was having these energies downloaded and moving everything in the mind from the cellular memory of the other expression out and transmuting it, and the emotions and then in the body. And then the second part was working with others to help them through angel messages and also through these beings downloading energies without me having any human filters. So I was being moving the energies from the other expression out, and then secondly, using my purpose as an angelic, as a channeler and as an activation conduit. And so it had a different meaning. This last 2 years is when I really started moving more solely into an unbraided experience where I can now feel like my purpose is more real instead of having to deal with the other expression and mine. So in a sense, she may have come into the body when that other expression was complete, and she didn't have to work on that other expression's expansiveness, and she just dropped in and it was already expanded, but she still had to get used to the vibrational frequency of a denser body. Whereas as a spirit, there is no denseness, there's no form, it's just energy, and it's at a higher frequency. Whereas when you drop in, it becomes a form, so it's at a denser vibration. Where when she dropped in, she probably had enough of the body from the other expression doing everything they possibly can to move the frequency higher, so when she dropped in, it didn't have as much work. Whereas with me, it was so dense that it took me all these years to move its vibration higher and higher and higher. So it was just a different focal point, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Totally understood it. Do you find, I don't know if you have anything to compare this to, and maybe you do because of the exit as you entered. Do you find that with your degree, in quotes, of power, or presence rather, that you have to buffer it some because your delivery, your expression in this world when working with people may just be too intense? So do you find that you might have to somewhat back your volume down to work with people, so basically you don't, quote, fry them?
Well, again, it's not me that's doing it. It's coming through me from these expansive pure beings. And what I do is, because they can't physically see the person's body, and I guess that's kind of good, because if someone's in a shower, they may not want everybody staring at them from the other plane. But that was a joke. But what happens is I guide them with energy and communicate to them in energy where the mind's at in the person's body and their emotions and their body. Then they know how to move the energy and know where to activate it. Because I could see a person's energy field, sometimes I have to guide them into the areas that are of a denser vibration so that they can trigger higher frequencies. The activations, I have to be really honest, is not for everybody, because they have to really be done with the drama with regard to their readiness, if that makes sense, and they have to be receptive and willing to do the part of opening up through nurturing the energies that is being downloaded. So someone that says, well, I want to be done, and then the next word that comes out of their mouth is, I love duality, I love complaining, this activation is not going to be efficient for them. Or if they like watching the news and then talking to someone and complaining about it. But if they're at a point where they go, I'm done being sad, I'm done having judgments, I'm done being like in negativity or in limitations or in fear. I'm really done with this all, and I just need someone to help me move the vibrations. Then these beings will be the conduit, and I'm kind of like, again, a messenger for them. So I don't get involved per se with
So
the
basically,
energy.
you're just on idle.
Well, it's not that I'm on idle. It's because I'm still helping them through communicating to them and guiding them, but I'm not doing the downloads. They're sometimes using me, and I say using me in a very loving way. They're sometimes communicating is a better way through me. So sometimes they actually come inside of me and talk to me through my mouth to that person if that person really needs to hear the message. And other times they communicate to me for me to pass on the messages during the activation. So I'm still part of it. It's just the humanness is not doing anything with regard to the downloads. I'm kind of like the middle person helping them out.
Sure. From the chat room, Don Danny says, and also asked the question, many of the out-of-body experience problems that, Angelica, that you describe are discussed in a book by Robert Monroe, Journeys Out of the Body. Have you ever heard of Robert Monroe?
No, but I would love to meet that person because I have not really met any other angelic walk-ins. I've heard people say they're angelic, but when I read their signatures, they're not a true angelic. They have a combination of other energies inside of them. So I haven't met another pure angelic on the phone. I mean, they may have said through Facebook or something else, but I haven't physically talked to them and got that confirmation. So I always like to meet other walk-ins that are from the angelic realm because I haven't met any, to be honest. I've met birthed angelics, but not walk-ins. They're too chicken, I guess.
By the way, when you cracked that joke a little bit ago, my mic was on mute and I had a mouthful of water and I was laughing and it caused me to choke for a moment.
Oh my God.
Robert Monroe, we're talking about Robert Monroe. He's no longer on the planet, so with your abilities, you can probably just tap into him in the spirit world. But Robert Monroe, and I use this word in quotes, he was one of the founders of out-of-body experiences, or let's say he was one of the first to make it public. He was this normal cat. In fact, if I have this correctly, listen to this. He was the president of NBC, had a wife, kids, went home, had supper, made love to his wife, went to sleep, woke up the next morning, had a job, and back and forth. And then he started having these out-of-body experiences. The book is called Journeys Out of the Body, I believe it's called. Phenomenal piece of work. Nice. What a great read. But I can definitely put you in touch with Claire Candy.
Oh, I know Claire.
Hoff. Yeah, well, she was the lady I had on my radio show some time ago.
Yeah,
yes.
She's actually a walk-in. You're right. I forgot about her. She's an angelic walk-in. Yeah.
Yeah, she was really, really informative. I really like her quote style, her way, her delivery. She has me definitely interested more in what she does, and she's always welcome here, as with you.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. So what do you see intuitively? Of course, we always lean towards the positive, but from a deep knowing within you, what do you see happening in the world? And we often fall into the illusion that the outside is lots of horrible things going on. And we can actually call those things on the outside horrible because, frankly, when you call a spade, it's still a spade. And those things that are happening are horrible because if you ask those people that they're happening to, they can probably find a better word than I used to describe what is happening. All that being said, do you know, bones to bones, what is happening in the world, though everything is possibility, pro or con? Is the world shifting? Are we changing vibrations? Are we, quote, are those vibrations changing? What might you know that you can impart to us that others may not know so we can have, quote, a little more hope?
Well, I would say have a lot of more hope because this is called the year of the flip, and what's happening is many people are on different levels of vibrational awakening. And so because the planet and also the people are going through what is called a purification process where they're shifting from identifying as a human to to identifying more as a spiritual being, there's different vibrations of their awakening in their awareness around that. And so all these things that are happening that seem to be really horrible things is part of the purification. When people are coming from fear, negativity, drama, or limitations, they're at a denser vibration, and so their heart's more at a closed vibration, and thereby they're coming from a reactive mode, and all of their beliefs that have not been cleared out from this lifetime or even other lifetimes start to trigger mistrust or paranoia, and so they're getting even. They're trying to control. The ego is at a denser place, so it's more of a fight, flight, protect mode. So they're doing these things because they're asleep, per se. Whereas those that are doing all these things to help with the awakening are at a more of an awakened state. So their heart's more open, their beliefs that are self-defeating have come more from a purified place, so they're more connected and aware of their inner spirit, which is pure, which is a pure form of love. And their fears, the insecurities, the limitations that the ego would have doesn't get triggered into this fight, flight, protect mode. What gets triggered instead is more compassion, more forgiveness, more love, more of seeing that, as Christ would say, and I'm not religious, that forgive those that know not better. They don't know any better. That's where they're at. Their consciousness is at a place that they just don't know any better. That's all they know. All they know is like a bully. All the bully knows is you fight back, because the bully was emotionally or mentally or physically abused. So that's all the bully has in their cellular structure, is you fight back to protect yourself. But when the bully becomes aware around some area of their awakening of love, they start to look at things differently. And they start to say, I don't want to do this to other people. I want to be more loving. So they start waking up parts of their cells, and thereby their personality shifts, and they start to wake up more and more and more and do more loving things. That's why you hear about like prisoners that, or burglars that were once in prison, come out and they become cops. And I just crack up when I hear stories like that, because they realize that that's not the life they want to be in anymore. And so a lot of the people that are doing these so-called things that people are labeling horrible, in their mind, they're seeing these denser forms of asleep. And you hear about people that have done things, and the next thing they know is they say, I don't know why I did that. They were almost like hypnotized in that energy. And as a result, they did things that weren't coming from their true sense of awakening, because their sensitivity allowed them to suck down into that power vibration. And once they start to raise it and become more awakened, they're not triggered. So they don't give their power away to it. They become smarter in a sense, if that makes sense. So this is the year of the flip. It's an amazing time, although it's a very challenging time for many people, because not only are you dealing with the planet expanding in vibration and doing its own cleansing, and the angels told me this was going to happen. I thought it was going to be just 1 year. I didn't realize it was going to be all 19 years that I've been here. Is that the planet's purifying, and so the earthquakes, the hurricanes, the weather transition is the earth cleansing itself, and so that you have the earth cleansing, you have people's consciousness being awakened and purifying. You have the collective consciousness, if you're a sensitive, picking up on that. If you're an alien, you have they're going in and out on the planet. I mean, you have all of this energy that's overwhelming. In addition, if you live in a big city, you have the chaos of the city. I mean, you have all of this that you have to acclimate and deal with. And so there's a lot of energy fluctuations going on this year. And as we move into next year, it'll start taming up a little bit more. That there are still going to be people that are going to be still purifying, because their free will of their ego didn't do enough of the inner work. And so they may have lagged or just kind of didn't do it. And so now they don't have as much of a choice. Things will get done, because as the planet's vibration rises, as the collective consciousness, they will have parts of themselves waking up, or they will leave the planet, like die or do something to leave the planet.
I've said that many, many times. So I guess it'd be fair to say, since this is the year of the flip, if you practitioners are out there wanting to have out-of-body experiences, I guess you need to flip out.
Yeah, some people do literally flip out, which is kind of funny.
Keith Anthony Blanchard here, Center of Light Radio. I am your host, Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome to the show. The number you dial if you want to get on the air, speak to myself or my guest today, Angelica Rose. Angel, walk in, dial 888-919-2355, 888-919-2355. Angelica, I want to ask you a question. It's somewhat a sensitive subject to a lot of people, and I want to handle it with care, and you can decline. This question I have is a lot of what we've been talking about for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes or so is about what's happening in the world. And the platform I want to ask you this question requires, like I said, kid gloves. If we hear a lot in the spiritual movement that everything happens for a reason. Everyone is here for a reason. If this is true, then as you mentioned a minute ago, people, as the vibration lifts, people are going to get with the vibration, or it's going to get too intense and they're going to check themselves out, be it with disease, car accident, or whatever the reasons. If this is the platform we're operating on, those events that are happening in the world, the bombings, the terrorism, people who are dying in droves and countless numbers, would it be fair to say that the drama that is taking place of all this chaos, death, is because of past experiences that need to be completed as part of the purification process, so that when it may help the person who is looking out into the world change their perception, being able to see things no longer as so, quote, horrific, as people dying in droves, that it's now part of the Christ path for their soul's evolution. Would you agree with that statement?
Well, I don't know if I'm tuning in as we're speaking, and they kept telling me to say this, so I have to take a step back for a second.
Take your time.
Yeah, because I really want to make sure it's coming from the purest place. What is important to understand right now is a lot of people are feeding the stuff that you just mentioned, the bombing and all that stuff, with fear and paranoia and negativity. So what they're doing is they're feeding the dense vibration, which is conflicting with someone like myself and you that are holding the light. So it's almost like oil and water, they're clashing. What's necessary to do, and this was proven, they even did this in Washington, D.C., where they had these peaceful people sit outside and meditate and focus on peace. And there was a whole big thing going on where people were rallying, and then all of a sudden they stopped. They did this in other parts of the world, and people that were fighting stopped. So we're collective consciousness. You have to realize that if you move your consciousness beyond the fear and realize that it's an illusion that you're feeding, you'll help to support the vibrational frequency of the planet to move smoother than it would if you feed the fear with more fear. You have to be able to move your energy above the fear and not give your attention to that and to those illusions as truth, but rather as illusions, almost like a hologram. If look at it as it's not real, that it's an imaginary thing that keeps getting fed, and the more you feed it, the more it keeps growing. Focus on love, focus on compassion, focus on peace, focus on joy. Do everything you possibly can to move your attention away from the fear of what's happening to that of what Christ would do, is the compassion around them not knowing any better. That's the one thing that I keep hearing to tell you. As far as all these things that are happening, yeah, you can totally get into the story of they came here to die, to wake up people. It's like, like Martin Luther King that did his thing to help wake up people, and he had a mission and he died for his mission. I mean, if that's going to comfort you, do that. But to me, it's just another story that you're feeding. And the more you feed stories, the more you're caught up in the illusion. And this is what I'm hearing to say. Get off the story about why things are happening and focus only on the energy of love, the energy of joy, the energy of peace. feeding a story with an excuse of why it's happening is just keeping you stuck in trying to comfort the ego, which is not going to solve the problem. But focusing on the vibration of love and joy and peace and putting all your attention as much as you can on that is going to help the conduit of the vibrations of the collective consciousness in addition to yourself. Because you have to realize this is a vibrational planet. Whether you believe it or not, it is a vibrational planet. And whatever your attention is does expand in its vibration. Either consciously or subconsciously, you have energies that are going to come up in the form of beliefs that will need to be either expanded on or transmuted because they're not serving your soul's purpose. And so all these people that are doing all these things is their way of fighting back out of their own consciousness. Does this at all make sense?
Absolutely. I've always said that you can water the weed or water the plant. Whatever one you give your attention to is the one that will expand and grow, and that's the one you're going to experience.
Perfect analogy.
I like that you said the word story. That was a very, very big word for me back in the day when I was, quote, beginning my conscious walk. My mentor at the time, I was talking a lot, and he said, Keith, when you speak to me, do your best to not tell me the story. For example, that day I would see him. He'd say, Keith, how's it going? Well, I'm doing well. Today I got up and I went to the store and then I went to the bank. And I'd lay out this really big book, right? And he would tap me on the shoulder and he would go, no, Keith. You could have said, I'm doing fine. I ran a couple of errands, but everything, I had a good day today. That's really all he wanted to hear. And he strongly suggested that everywhere I would frequent in my house, he would say, Keith, put a note up that said, no story. And I realized after about a couple days, the power and that very, very simple exercise, that what we experience and want to continually share with other people is how important my life is, even if that's in an illness. My illness is so important. I can't wait to share that with you, and people will drone on about it. And it's always about stories. So I'm really, really glad that you said it's just a story that we keep trying to convince ourselves is real, and it's not. We're at the bottom of the hour. Would you give out your contact information to our listening audience? Angelica?
Yeah, I have actually a brand new website. I'm kind of excited because I created it, so I want to give that as well.
Yay!
Yay! It's Angel. I know, right? It's Angel. I'll say it first and then I'll spell it. angelroselove.wix.com/love. It's spelled Angel, ANGEL, Rose, ROSE, like the flower, love, like love, .wix, WIX.com/love. And please mention the show and you'll get an extra special. And then my phone number is 971-217-6576. And what's really important to understand is with regard to stories is sometimes people don't know they're in the story. The next thing you know, they're writing a book, they create a movie, and they want to win a nomination award for it. And it's really important to understand that the mind is so overactive when it's in a human form, and you can't shut the mind off. But
tell me about it.
What you can, you're so cute. What you can do is learn how to go into gaps of silence, learn how to move into your inner spirit's mind, which is your third eye, if we were to talk about the chakras. And I teach a meditation class, both in person and online, that focuses on the mind, the emotions, and the body to help raise its frequency. So you don't give your power to the human mind, the human emotions, and the human body as who you are. Most people think they are their thoughts. Most people think they are their emotions. Most people think they are their body. So they become attached to the stories around it, which is why you said so perfectly that let go of the story. If you realize you're not the mind, you're not the emotions, you're not the body, you're experiencing through the filters, the beliefs, then it's easier for you to let go of the attachments behind it and bring it to a vibration of realizing that you're at that moment having a human experience, and that it's easier to let go of the attachment to the story. And if you become aware that you are that story, it's almost like watching a TV show, and the next thing you know, you're crying because you became attached to the roles of the people rather than the observer, and realizing that's not who you are. You became one with the story. story. And that's what happens when you identify or attach to the story as if that's who you are.
A few times I've heard you mention that your connection with others, not others on this plane, but you were talking about others. Who are these others? I know most often when we speak about this level of energy, light, and vibration, names are not important. But
No,
for
I
the
don't get
people
into
down
names.
here,
Well, names as human names. It's just people making a name to make them feel good, like Michael and Raphael. And I use them too because I kind of love the name Michael, so I use Michael.
So well, let's play the game. Let's play the game. Who are some of these others? What would their status, their hierarchy level would be, so to speak, just so we can have an idea. Your immediate family.
Let me just kind of take a step back, if I may, just to kind of explain things. I have the gift of seeing when people die walk into the light. So I know what happens when they walk through that kind of what people call a tunnel. It's a light that goes through a review process before they move on to that next stage. So I actually communicate with people from the other side. With that being said, I only work in the light. I don't work with dense vibrations of heavy energy. So when somebody comes to me and they want me to see if I can communicate to like a passed on mother, I call that person's energy signature by their name that they were here. If it was soon, if it was like beyond 6 months to a year, then they don't have the name signature anymore. They just have an energy. And so I can get a kind of like a description of what they did look like. So that's one thing. The second thing is I work very much with the angelic realm. I don't ask, are you Michael? Are you Raphael? Are you? It's energy. It's pure energy. So I know the signatures of the energies that I work with, and different signatures come for different reasons, for different times, to support me in different ways, to help me and to also help those that I'm working with. Then I work with these high pure vibrational beings, and they come from different planets that are very pure in love, and there's a partnering. They came in the ship a few years ago. They scanned the mind. I had no idea what they were doing. They were pricking it, and I'm like, who are you? And what do you want? And they communicated to me in energy. And once they shot love to me, I knew that they were coming from a pure place. And what they were doing were at that time, and this was about, I have it documented. I can't remember the exact year because I wrote it down in this new book that I'm writing, that they were there to help me with the body, the human form, to expand it. So that was, I guess, I don't know if that was something, they told me that the universe, I call them universal love, told them that they were here to help me. That's their purpose. They also came and told me that, and some of them are from Syria, and some of them are from other areas like avatars, that they'd come to help in the medical field with the awakening. Some of them have those assignments. So they help with the energies of the medical field, and what they're doing there, I don't know, because they don't tell me everything. Some things they can't tell me, but they do tell me some things that I can know, because I was taken on their ship in my sleep stage, and I saw all of them in a white form with white hair and beautiful loving energy, very pure. And at that time I was still experiencing some of the dense energies, and so I was asking them human types of questions, and one of them said, do you drink? And I go, no. And they go, well, your mouth is running like you do. It was really funny, and they were cracking jokes. And so they actually talk like they're in a human form to help you be able to understand the humanness of your own humanness, reflecting it back to you. And I noticed that they come a lot. They come in like a bubble energy, and I could see them, I could feel them. They communicate to me all the time. People have actually felt them when I do these activations, and some of them have felt really these high frequencies. They don't know where they're from, but they experience it, and I just absolutely love them. So
who would these they be? Is there a name that we could refer to as
well, I
far
call
as the
them
group?
Syrian. I call them Cyrus. I call them Cyrus. I call it Cyrus because that's what I like to call him. I call Cyrus, come on in, and he comes to talk to me. The avatars have been coming in the last few years. I don't know if they've been here before that, but they came to me. And then the angelic realm. So those are the three that I work with. I know that there are others. There are the Palladians that I used to work with. There are, there is this one that I cannot, they call them sun stars, but to me that's kind of, I don't know, it's like a mixture. Then there's another one that I had no idea how to pronounce it. I had to write it in my dream journal because I still don't remember the name of them. But I actually saw one in a human form that was a huge body and long hair, and I knew it was an alien, but I could not recognize its signature at that time. I don't know if I saw it now, if I would recognize it, but at that time, when it was like a year after I dropped, and actually it was only 6 months after I dropped in, so I had no idea what was going
the
on.
universe is just teeming with life in every bandwidth, every dimension, every possible frequency. And I've been doing some recent research by people that I absolutely trust, whistleblowers of whistleblowers, people stepping forward. What's happening on the dark side of the moon. Believe it or not, that humans are colonizing our local space. It's happening. And though there are lots of, quote, extraterrestrial type beings out there, a lot of these beings are us. And when I say us, I don't mean us in the future. A lot of these beings are humans. In fact, some years ago, I had a visitation from the Clarions, and there was the equivalent of a 9-year-old girl who was the captain or the leader of this particular mothership. Pretty amazing. And I have these experiences as you. They come in to help my vibration lift, tweak here, tweak there, process a little there. And it's always a joyous experience. I was never invaded. I was never had anything done to me beyond my own free will.
They don't do stuff like that. I don't know why people, I mean, maybe certain people have experiences, so I don't want them to feel like what they're sharing isn't truth. But, it does depend on where your vibration is operating from. And if you're in a fear experience, then it may feel like an invasion, because when they were pricking my mind, at first I'm like, what are you doing? I didn't give you permission. But they had this assignment that was part of their role, and they explained it to me. And once I recognized the signature of love and knew that my angelic realm told me it was okay, I was like, come on board. I was like, the more help, the merrier. I was like, you can help me. I'm grateful. And
well, the next time they pick you up, say, I know this guy named Keith Anthony Blanchard. Can we just jet over to his house and pick him up? I'm in for the haul.
They're amazing. I mean, I just absolutely, and there's also the crystals, and the crystals, I love them too, because they're also very telepathic and healers, and their vibrations are really high. And they came in 2000, if my memory is correct, I believe in 2009. And then, of course, you have the indigos that are very intellectual, and they had a really hard time being on this planet, and that's why a lot of them are reactive. And they have to be totally loved more than the crystals, because their intelligence is so out there that if they don't feel love, they feel rejection.
Yeah, I had someone recently on my show that said pretty much the exact same thing you said. Angelica Rose, you are a wonderful guest here in Center of Light Radio. We're at the top of the hour. Would you like to leave our listening audience with a thought, something they can implement in their lives so they can actually start seeing further expansion taking place?
One of the things that and thank you so much for this wonderful, loving experience. You're an absolute joy, to have this show with, is really be gentle with yourself. If you're processing some stuff and I call it in the human form, just stay very present with it. Stay as much as you can in love. Just be very gentle with yourself, because it takes a lot of guts to be here on this planet right now, and a lot of courage. And if you're feeling so-called weak, it's okay. You don't have to be this strong warrior when you're processing. Just be very gentle with yourself and realize you're doing the best you can, and everybody's doing the best they can. So just give yourself hugs, give yourself love. And if you need to take timeouts more frequently, then just set healthier boundaries so that you can get through this, especially this year, with greater compassion. It is a very challenging year, but it's also a very empowering year. And you're here for a reason. You obviously are stronger than you're giving yourself credit, because you wouldn't be here otherwise. So just be very gentle and loving with yourself, and know that it's okay if you feel somewhat weak on some days. It's just okay. You don't have to be perfect every single moment. Just be gentle and do the best you can to move into to the love energy so that it becomes easier for you to process through it.
Angelica Rose, thank you for being a wonderful, powerful guest on Center of Light Radio. We appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you.
Good evening to you. Everyone, Angelica Rose, what a phenomenal guest. I'm really starting to delve further into this angelic walk-in gig, and I'm really, really digging it. Something came across my attention today, and I want to read a couple of pieces before I exit the show for today. Every Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Keith Anthony Blanchard here on Center of Light Radio. It's about spanking your children. If you want great results with your child, you don't spank them. You do this instead. Spanking does not work. Trust me. It doesn't work. Yes, the child may stop doing that particular something, but it's not out of love and learning, nor is it out of respect. They will stop because they're afraid of you. You keep that up and they will begin to resent you, and you keep that up and they will begin to hate you. Spanking your child will never, ever work. It does not get to the core of what is troubling them. And you can bet that their trouble will only manifest in another way. And then back into the cycle of repeated spanking, you will go. Always ask your child if there is something on their mind that they want to share, something that will allow them to feel heard. Parents could ask themselves the question, what is my responsibility in this as to why my child is acting out? One would be very, very surprised to learn how much they are a part of what is happening. So the question I pose is, when you err because you're human, do you want to get hit? That's your answer. And finally, for tonight, I do appreciate you being here in my chat room. I always love seeing you here. This is an overview of Center of Light Radio, and I've been waiting for the appropriate time to read this. This is everything that describes the channel of Center of Light Radio, and what you can bet you can find here in the future as far as my guess and what this platform represents. All who seek divinity must live a life free from wanting, for that is the source and cause of spiritual bondage. As long as one is constantly wanting, one will only fall further from the selflessness of grace and into the selfishness of ego. The ego mind is the cloth that veils consciousness. Your wants are its threads. But when you give up your constant wanting, the ego threads will fall away and the cloth will disappear, revealing your true nature, the pure, genuine self that is the soul. God realization will happen when you finally free yourself from the brain, the senses, the mind, the wanter. Once you break out of your finite little prison of individuality, you will become conscious, enlightened, one with the cosmic power. Thus will you reach God. That is the last insert of the Divine Principle, my bestseller, which you can find at centeroflightradio.com. Again, I love you all. I bid you all a wonderful evening. Remember to breathe, 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 breathe at night when you're laying down. And that breath will push you through the ceiling of thought. And suddenly, magically, miraculously, powerfully, you will emerge into the profound silence of your own nature. When you reach this state, you will see the unity that you are and the truth of who you are. Peace, love, and light. Always remember, ease yourself into bliss. Good evening.